Hey, what's going on, everyone? This video we're looking at the Geico 500 at Talledaga for this afternoon. There's a lot to talk about at this track and for this race, so let's get right into it. Before we get started, I'd appreciate if you hit the like on the video and subscribe if you have not already. So a lot to touch on at this type of track. A couple things to note: it's a super speedway. There's only 141 laps here, so it's a lot less. You're looking for a lot less laps led upside, and looking for a lot more place differential upside. There are also a lot of wrecks here as just the nature of the track with a lot of drivers driving side by side. And that means you're going to need to probably spread some exposure out to a lot of the player pool. I have a lot of interest in the guys in the back here as they have typically done very well at this track and at this type of track and at Talladega in the past. Instead of playing a lot of the guys at the front, especially with there being only 141 laps, you're not going to want to get a ton of guys starting in the top five. Just because there's not that much not that much laps led upside. But if you look at the last four races here at Talladega, as you see some top end drivers at the top, like Joey Logano has done extremely well here, 3 top fives and a win. Then you also see a bunch of just bottom tier drivers that have done well, like Ryan Preece. You have Daniel Hemrick, who's not even racing, but he has done well here in his 2 races. Ty Dillon, Corey LaJoie. So a lot of bottom tier drivers mixed in with some top tier drivers, which means I'm looking for a lot of guys that are starting in the back with the place differential upside, because if some of the guys at the top crash, then you're going to need that. You're going to need the guys at the bottom because they're going to get you a huge amount of negative points. If you're playing like Martin Truex starting at the pole, I don't have that much interest. So another thing to note is probably going to want to leave some money on the table, just because that has typically done well in the past here, and not that many people. I mean, people do it at this track, but you got a lot of new people playing NASCAR that are probably not aware, and they're probably going to fill out all their salaries. So leave some money on the table. This track, anything can happen, basically. Looking at how some of these drivers have done here recently, and looking at the starting spots are especially important today. But my favorite guy to pay up for is Joey Logano. He has done extremely well here. He's 10-2, starting ninth, so he still has the upside to get you a place differential upside if he gets into the top 5, which he has done 3 out of the last 4 races here. He also has a win and has led a decent amount of laps here the last 4 races. So Joey Logano is probably my favorite guy to pay up for. I think there's a really good chance that he is one of the highest scorers and has a good chance to win. I also like Blaney at the top, and Elliott. I think you could also play him. So those are 3. They're starting, they're not starting in the top 5, which I love. But definitely Joey Logano is probably my favorite out of that group. And then I really like Christopher Bell at 9,700. 35th, starting 35th for a good driver at this type of track is going to be one of the better plays on the slate, I would say. Probably one of the more popular plays. But for good reason. He is starting 35th, which means that if he gets into the top 20, you get looking at a lot of place differential upside. He also has a very good driver and has a chance to get even into the top 10, which would make him a must in the GPPs. And either way, at 9,700, with there being so many value plays and just with salary not mattering too much at this track, I really want to get guys that are starting in the back with a bunch of upside, like a guy like Christopher Bell does have. Another guy that I like starting down here is Brian Gaughan at 7,600. He's probably going to be with the most popular, or Brendan Gaughan, probably going to be one of the most popular plays on the slate. He doesn't race very much. I think he just races at these types of super speedways. But he does do pretty well here. If you look at his races, I'm not sure if he's on this list. Yeah, he is. He's done pretty well. He has 2 top 20s, 1 top 10 in the last 4 races. Best finish of 8th, average starting spot of 28th, and average finish of 17. So he can get you those 10 place differential upside. He's now instead of starting 27, he's starting 39. So if he does stay to par and get you a 17th place finish, you're going to really want him, especially at just 7,600. So those 3 I like a lot. And then another really cheap value play that I love is Ty Dillon at 7,100, who's done extremely well here. He's starting 33rd. He's averaging average finish of 14.25 here, average start of 23. He has 4 top 20s, and 1 top 10. So if he can get into the top 20 again, I think you're going to want him, especially if that big wreck happens and takes out a lot of the guys starting in the front, a lot of the top drivers. So going with the guys in the back are safe because even if they do wreck, they're not going to kill you, especially if the guys starting like 1, 2, 3, 4. If some of those guys wreck as well and are popular because they're getting a lot more negative points than guys starting in the 30th. And some of the guys that tend to stay in the back aren't super aggressive and hopefully can stay out of some of the wrecks that happen here. But those four I have a ton of interest in on Draftkings, and then you can really just leave some money on the table. Go with guys starting down here. If you want to pay up for another guy starting like for like a Blaney, I think that's fine. Or like a Stenhouse has done well here. He's always risky, but average finish of 10.5. He has 2 top 5s here in the last 4 races, 3 top 10s. Stenhouse, he should be in your player pool. You also have Ryan Preece, another bottom tier driver who's done well. So mix in a lot of the guys starting in the back. That's probably the biggest piece of advice I have for you guys. And then let's jump on over to FanDuel. I'll touch on that as well. It's pretty similar to the guys I like on DraftKings. Okay, over on FanDuel, they have Chase Elliott as your most expensive driver. You have Joey Logano coming in second at $13,000. Still have a lot of interest in Joey Logano. I love Blaney at his price at $12,000. But once again, I'll probably be leaving some money on the table on FanDuel as well. Probably a lot of money, maybe. But Joey Logano is a guy that I feel great about. He has done, out of all the top drivers, he has the most success here. And I think he has the highest upside. 1 win. You also have Aric Almirola, who's done well here. He's starting 15th, so not like super safe, and he is expensive, but you're going to be playing a lot of guys in the back. You're going to have the ability to pay for Almirola. Average start of 12.8, average finish of 5th, so he has done well here. I do like Almirola. And then some more value you have is Stenhouse if you want a little bit of risk in your life at 10-1 is viable. He's done well here. He's always aggressive though, so there's a chance he could be in that wreck that does if wreck happens, which probably will happen at some point. But Christopher Bell, 8,900, obviously going to be one of the top plays. And then you have Brendan Gaughan, who's incredibly cheap on FanDuel at 5,000. He's going to be one of the top plays. So on FanDuel, I recommend getting like 1 or maybe 2 top drivers, and then going with a bunch of guys starting down here in the 30s, leaving some money on the table if you want. Just especially in something like the $6 tournament, you're gonna want to be different, and maybe leaving like 15,000, like 10, 15,000 is definitely fine at this track because you're really just looking for guys with the upside, and guys starting 35th, guys starting in the 30s have probably more upside than a lot of the guys starting in the top 10, even in the top 20. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this race. That's what I got. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it, and good luck today.